What are the power of President in India? In India, the President is the ceremonial head of state and the highest constitutional authority. The powers and functions of the President are defined by the Constitution of India. Here are the key powers of the President in India. 1. Executive powers. The President appoints the Prime Minister, who is the head of the government, and other members of the Council of Ministers on the advice of the Prime Minister. The President also appoints the governors of states, the Attorney General, and other high-ranking officials. 2. Legislative powers. The President summons and prorogues sessions of Parliament and addresses both houses of Parliament. The President can also dissolve the Lok Sabha, the lower house, and order fresh elections. All bills passed by Parliament require the President's assent to become law. The President can also issue ordinances when Parliament is not in session. 3. Judicial powers. The President has the power to grant pardons, reprieves, respites, or remissions of punishment to individuals convicted of certain offences. The President also appoints judges of the Supreme Court and High Courts. 4. Diplomatic powers. The President represents India in its international relations. The President receives credentials from foreign ambassadors and high commissioners and also accredits Indian ambassadors to other countries. 5. Military powers. The President is the Commander-in-Chief of the Indian Armed Forces. The President's approval is required for the declaration of war and the conclusion of peace treaties. 6. Emergency powers. The President has emergency powers during times of national emergency, which can be declared due to war, external aggression, or armed rebellion. In such cases, the President can take on additional powers, including the power to suspend fundamental rights. It's important to note that while the President holds significant powers, the exercise of these powers is usually bound by the advice of the Council of Ministers headed by the Prime Minister, who is the real executive authority in the country. How is the President elected in India? The President of India is elected by an indirect method of voting. The process of electing the President involves the following steps. 1. Eligibility. To be eligible for the presidency, a person must be a citizen of India, be at least 35 years old, and fulfill other qualifications as prescribed by the Constitution. 2. Electoral college. The President is elected by an electoral college, which consists of the elected members of both houses of Parliament, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, and the elected members of the legislative assemblies of the states. 3. Nomination. A candidate for the presidency needs to be nominated by at least 50 electors as proposers and 50 electors as seconders. The nomination papers are scrutinized to ensure they meet the necessary requirement. 4. Voting process. The election is conducted through a secret ballot. The method of voting is proportional representation by means of a single transferable vote. This means that voters rank the candidates in order of preference. 5. Value of votes. Each elected member of Parliament and each member of a legislative assembly has a certain value of votes assigned to them. The value of votes of the members of the Electoral College is determined based on the population they represent. The votes of different members have different weights. 6. Counting of votes. The counting of votes is conducted by the Election Commission of India. The process involves redistributing surplus votes and eliminating candidates with the least number of votes until a candidate secures the required majority. 7. Majority requirement. To be elected as President, a candidate needs to secure an absolute majority of the total value of votes polled. If no candidate achieves an absolute majority in the first round, further rounds of voting take place. 8. Oath and assumption of office. Once elected, the President-elect takes an oath of office and secrecy before entering upon the duties of the office. It's important to note that the President's election is an indirect process, where the elected representatives of the people participate in choosing the President on their behalf. Thanks for watching. Political Knowledge 8470.